first make yourself proficient enough in where you want to go and where you see yourself in the future. Like at the age of 35 or 36, I want this to be the part of my life, so that at each and every morning I wake up and I would enjoy doing my work rather than feeling why am I doing this. So find that passion for you. And
Hello everyone. Today we have with us my friend Kirti. We are from the same batch and college, but he was from a mechanical engineering department. And today he is here with us to share his interview experience with TCS Digital Road. In fact, we had been to on-site together. It was one of our first interview experiences. Hi Kirti.
Yeah, hi Shashank, and hi to everyone who would be watching this. So, starting with my interview experience, presently, before that, going to my professional background. So, presently, I'm working in TCS under the digital role, that is of systems engineer. Uh, Probably, as you know, TCS is kind of a service-based company. So, I'm in one of the clients' project. So one of the biggest about banking MNC. So probably my area of expertise is in the BFSI, that is banking finance. But as of now, whatever the development and other things goes around, so we are in the B, that is the banking sector of it. I can name the client as of now here. So but we would be providing whatever the service in terms of development and any kind of production support and other things out uh, to them. So before after that, like as of now, stating out the interview experience around. So as Shashank said, I'm from mechanical background, but yeah, I did have my interest down the lane for computer programming and other things. Starting from like the second, like the first year itself, there was this one wonderful course for us in our KL Technological University that is called Engineering Exploration. My interest on the programming part of it and whatever I'm doing right now arose from engineering exploration itself. So I think it's specific to our college and probably even PES has it, but ours is a bit unique because we have what you say, whatever we learned in some part of the course in the first year would be implementing it, and down the lane would be implementing either one of the main projects like robots or something like that. From there my interest arose on this, but specifically my interest and my area of expertise which I want to be in the future upcoming whatever you say professional area is in the machine learning and analytics field, because that is the field where you think you can impact business and as well as the life. So interview experience, as you are aware that TGS conducts many rounds of interviews overall the year. You have NQT, you have Code Vita, you have other kind of hackathons going around, mainly pointing out to what you are interested in. So I went into, actually I applied for NQT, but before that me and Shank and some of my friends, like whatever we did was in the area of Code Vita itself. So how Code Vita would go on is there would be around 6 questions. So I solved in my awareness. I thought I just solved one questions, but at the time of interview, I came to know that I did two out of it due to some glitches in the website and other things. So once you do the coding part and you would get on your result back in like it takes some duration, but once probably the minimum criteria, I don't know like how much questions you need to solve, but if you solve one or two, that would be highly enough to get into an interview. So once you get that mail from the company saying that through Code Vita you are selected for the interview. So we went into the TCS Bangalore Whitefield along with Shashank also. So there it would be kind of a bit mass interview, but keep in mind that you need to attract over whoever sitting, either the manager, HR, or the technical person in an area where you want to be in, because that is where your role be specific on. Because TCS has three kind: ninja, digital, and innovators. Probably innovators is for high end, like if you go to the last round of Code Vita and other kind of hackathons. But digital, you need to know one of the digital technologies like either machine learning, AI, blockchain, cybersecurity maybe. So you need to be curative enough, and as well as you need to draw the attention of the technical interviewers so that he asks more question in terms of the digital technologies itself, like whatever I mentioned earlier. So my interview started at 9, so I was a bit nervous, because it was my first interview. And as I didn't had any background on any CS kind of things, but still I was confident enough that I could probably end up with Ninja. That much I was confident enough, but I didn't want it to end up in Ninja because, as everyone know what Ninja is. So I just went in a bit nervous. So the first thing, as every interview goes, introduce yourself. So I would just point out to those who would be going into the TCS digital interview kind of things. Uh, Coming first in the introduction part, you would be introducing yourself, that is non-professional, non-interest wise, right? Once that is done, make your sentence in such a way that you would be redirecting your ideologies into the digital things. The same thing I did, because I knew I had to uh, make myself interviewed in the area of machine learning itself, or in the terms of in machine learning area itself, so that I have a high chance of digital rather than high chance of Ninja itself, right? So I, in my introduction itself, I said about myself, the most common things, and after that I said that after from the second year I started doing machine learning things, and I stated some of the two projects which I did, one for the core curriculum and other for as of my interest, and also the competitions which I did in driven data, and pointed out some of the rankings which I had, which were in top 20% of top 20% or top 10%, all of that. So the technical recruiter who was sitting in front of me got a bit excited on that, and he started asking the questions. The questions were purely perspective of machine learning itself, because as I said, like about my interest and other things. So the questions were somewhat similar to whatever you would have learned, but those are the basic level of questions. Because if you don't know those basic levels of question, you're not proficient enough to be going a further ahead in the professional level of machine learning or data analytics kind of things. So starting ahead with the basic question, linear regression, what it is linear regression. And I had a project a bit like, my perspective is whenever I learn something, I just implement it with the help of the UCL data repository we have, right? So I just mentioned that, like, this is the thing, and he said like, he said, what is linear regression and how would you use it? I said about linear regression, and I just gave a small example which I heard, like a bit of ice cream kind of thing with respect to temperature thing. And once that was done, he said, did he use in any kind of real project or something like that? Linear regression, I haven't used it, because most commonly we will not use it and unless it is required, right? Because nowadays it's in terms of time forecasting and other things. So I said no, but yeah, I did, like, once I know the algorithm and I use it specific kind of framework, I jumped into it by using some of the UCL data repo. So after that, he went into like the implementation phase of it. See, that is one of the important thing now. You I want to highlight out, like, if you are into the area of machine learning and other kind of things, the frameworks, whatever you use, you need to be a bit of expertise in it. Not expertise, but need to know concepts. You need to know, like, how would you import some of the classes in it, and what are the arguments you would pass into it. After that, he asked about the next jump set of the algorithm, that is a logistic regression. And a common question, that is logistic regression, a regression or kind of a classification kind of thing. And apart from that, we went into this, what do you say, support vector machine. So he went into a bit deep into that, because that is, what do you say, the root for any interviewer, you can say. So if they are satisfied with the support vector machine kind of thing, if eventually they ask you, then that would be highly enough for you to be stated as entering into that machine learning kind of area, or stating that you know the basic level of criteria which you needed to know to enter the industry. Once that was done, once again there was some kind of framework based questions, like how would you implement logistic regressions, and what are the parameters that goes inside it, and how would you tweak it out, and about like, how would you not manually, but how would you automatically choose what parameter best suits the things, that is hypermeter parameter tuning, with respect to grid search CV and all those things. This was the whole part of my interview for around 20-25 minutes, I guess. Once that part was done, he would jump into the questions, whatever I solved in the code beta, right? he just asked the approaches. Like as I said, right, I came into awareness assuming that I just solved one, but then I got to know that I had solved two, but because of some glitches, we didn't get the final uh, second one result at that. So on that he asked things. Apart from that, yeah, bit basic DS kind of things about quick sort and merge sort, method. And he asked one simple coding question. That's it. Like it was a bit vague question, and bit was bit, I think, we could probably see that questions in the code signal lead code, or even gigs for gigs format kind of questions also. So that was the whole technical part of thing which won. So
Mm.
in sorry to mention this earlier, but if you sit in this TCS Digital or TCS Ninja kind of role for Code Vita, there would be three-person who would be sitting. One would be technical, manager, and HR. So if uh, the technical perspective is bit of impressive and they don't want to go further ahead, the manager and HR, they won't ask you enough things. It would be like a simple conversation in terms of managerial and HR runs. uh, Apart from that, there was nothing much more concentrated on the machine learning end part of you. But yeah, you need to be whatever the role you are choosing, or whatever the role you want to end up in. But the basic things are the standard DS kind of things, sorting things and linked list and other stacks queue and other things. And also a bit grooming yourself in the area of competitive programming, because in terms of I can say that how much questions you solve, that much your brain gets tweaked to knowing the next question. Like, all right, so if you solve 100 questions, then 101 become predictive enough to be like, how can I optimize this solution, and how
Mm.
can I implement the algorithms which I have learned earlier. So that is the thing which you need to train yourself in, is what I can say of. I know it's a bit of a short kind of interview for me, like 30 or 35, 40 minutes of interview for that. But
Yeah.
you need to be yourself in that 30, 40 minutes of run. And the confidence level you should be in way too high than what you would have in usual days, is what I expect, because they would argue with you. Uh, in terms of saying that, even though they know that's the correct answer, they would say that probably this is the correct answer rather than this. Then you need to stick to your word, saying this is the word, this is the answer, and this is how I got it right. This is the thing. So probably you may
Right.
be missing. Don't say it directly, probably, because they would know that this is the correct answer. They are just trying to confuse you out. So just
Mm.
map out and say that this is the thing, and how I got is like this, right? So because you probably would have whatever the round it is, you would probably have a sheet and paper and other things. So just map out the things and say them, see, this is the thing, and this is how I got it. And if I'm correct, right, and which I am sure that I'm correct, so this is the answer that would be map up. But you can recheck the things and other thing.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I think I remember they told it will be a 15-minute interview round actually for everyone. And even we had like 15, 20 minutes. But they probably, for especially if there's a good chance for the candidate, they try to drill him down and see how confident he will be. Like go up to half an hour, 45 minutes, and until reach the limit where he'll be like, no, I'm not sure of this. So like I remember you were also like very less confident at the end of the interview. You didn't even have lunch that day. So yeah.
yeah, actually, we went in like morning, and we didn't had even a sip of water. Also, I guess I don't
Mhm.
remember that much. So, and we were the first person to be interviewed. There were around like 30 people or somewhere around that for that session morning. And we were the first one to be interviewed, so that was a bit nervous for me, because it was also my first interview, and we also had another upcoming interview on the next day itself. All this clumsed for me, and as well as I had my nervousness. But the HR down there was she was actually brilliant, and she calmed down things. And even the technical person was also kind of like, he knew that I was nervous for a bit of time, and he wanted me to be in a bit of like safe environment, you can say, like not having any nervousness. And yeah, they would probably guide you if they come to know that you are nervous.
Okay, so let's move on to some frequently asked questions. Does CGPA matter?
Does CGPA matter? I would say yes, it does matter if you're trying for on-campus things, because on-campus, when they visit us, right? So they do put some constraints so that they can get minimal candidates in the first round itself. This was the case for us also. But once you go for an off-campus kind of selection, so they won't get that high-end CGPA. They say the minimum, which obviously everyone would get at. So it's like 50-50. If you're on campus, it does matter. Just try to get yourself in that environment where you can have the CGPA that is required by the company, whatever you are aiming for.
Right. How was the question difficulty in the face-to-face round compared to online round?
For me personally, as I said, right, mine majority, like 70% of the time, or even 80% of the time, was concentrated mainly on machine learning. But 20% of the time, when I see, right, so it was kind of a basic questions itself, two short questions, and I had one normal logic basic question, that's it. But when we compare it with respect to code vita, right, it was bit at the high end. But as far as I have seen, and as far as my perspective on this coding questions or coding rounds, first or second, first round of online, like, or whatever the online round happens, right, they try to keep it at a maximum, what do you say, maximum
Higher
difficulty
pass.
level, yeah, higher level, so that they can cut reduce the audience who can come into the face-to-face interview kind of things. But yeah, and the whenever you go to face-to-face, it would be somewhat kind of a standard DSA kind of questions, which would be which you would have solved already in either lead code, or you
Yeah.
have books coming around that is cracking the interview book and other kind of things.
Mm.
But the first round is something which everyone would be doing, right? Say for example,
Mm.
if you're aiming for MNC, like any other, it may be Amazon or any TCS or any kind of things. So you would have plenty of people would be doing this, taking this exam. Say for example, CodeVita, or even Infosys Hack with Infi, or anything it may be, right? So there would be lakhs together of people probably would be taking exams in that, or taking the questions in that, from all over India, and there are competition that takes place all over the world also. So in order to reduce the audience, probably they would keep the raise a bit high in terms of difficulty. But that difficulty is like, if you are not aware of the concepts and other things. But if you are aware of the concepts, and you have done your homework, whatever we say, right,
Mm.
so then that would be pretty much medium level for anyone of the one who would be doing the first rounds.
Okay. Is the interview only about DHR problem solving? Like we for online test, we usually prepare like problem is given and we just solve it. So in interview, what else will be there?
See, in majority of the cases, this would be the case itself, right? But most of the companies, they designate out of, like, if a company goes for 4 rounds or 2 rounds minimum on this purpose itself, so that they would get to know about the candidate's problem solving skill, and based on that, he can literally shift to any other programming languages and other things, is what they assume. But in my case, it was a bit different. I tried to steer my wheel in such a way that I would end up getting more questions on machine learning, and as well as my role. Or whatever TCS Digital would be the one. So that's why I wanted to steer it in that way, because in Ninja also, I know people who got asked the same problem solving and DSA basic skills, basic questions, and they ended up in Ninja. And as digital is entirely based on new technologies that are arising in this century, so probably I wanted in that way. So I shifted my wheel. But majority of the cases, out of 100 out of 90, it would be the same problem solving itself, or the standard DSA based one.
Okay. Also, difficulty wise, how difficult is like TCS interviews? Like, is it like anyone can crack it, or like very rare cases?
See, they probably you are aware, right? So in an entire year, TCS has like multiple times, and QT Code with they have separate hackathons. There comes another things, right? So getting in is easy, because they have three different roles, as I mentioned earlier: Ninja, Digital, and Innovators. But what role you want, and how you see that role in the future, is bit different, right? So because a majority of the cases, like out of 100, 80 would be in the ninja, and somewhere around 15 to 16 people would be, or somewhere around 18 people would be in digital, and somewhere around 2 to 1 people would be in the innovator, just in a sample level I'm telling. So it's entirely up to the people mindset, right? You can be in this still in the biggest company and people may taunt you out. Getting in can be a bit easy if you're good with the basic programming thing, whatever it is, either any language be it, because there isn't any restrictions on the coding round. So if you are good with that, and also the programming skills and the problem solving skill, and bit DSE, like the standard DSA things, then you can get in easily. But everybody has an aim at the end, right? So where am I looking at 35 or 40 years, right? So in that case, you probably want to be getting into the digital. In terms of pay scale, also it's quite double, and you get some of the incentives also. It's better to think whenever you enter into the TCS side of it. Make sure that you aim higher. That is not the digital innovator. So you would get up at the digital level.
For candidates before their interview or online round or any preparation?
Before online round or something like that. Just brush up the things, whatever you are doing. It's not like a month or 2 months course where you can do it and crack up and get a well-paid job in it, right? So because nowadays every company, every startup wants you to be good in programming skills. You want to be you have to be proficient enough in competitive line of programming and as well as in the DSA. So that you would be efficient or proficient only you have started from the day one, not say day one, but from a quite long, so that you are quite you're quite good with that environment of programming and as well as competitive enough. But apart from that, you also have, if you are computer science grad, right? So you have also have some of the core languages, core subjects you need to know on, like databases, OS, and as well as somewhere around networking things. So bit grasps your idea on that in the past, like 1.5 or 2 months, based on the company you are applying to. And apart from that, for a non-CS grad as I am, so I just want to point out on some of the other aspect, not the programming part where you need to be good enough, because wherever you go in the developer life or in a system or software engineer's life, you'll be using this. One is the DB kind of thing, that is SQL, and as well as the Linux oriented thing, that try to make yourself bit proficient of around 25 to 30 or even 40% at max, or even 50% if it's good in the shell scripting area also, because you would be working in those environment itself wherever you go. So that would be highly good.
Got it. So, what suggestions do you have for candidates like for during interviews?
The first thing would be is don't be nervous, because I was way too nervous. Probably Shashank can even tell also in that. Apart from that, be yourself. Don't try to say uh, things for sake, but say it if you know only, and mention the points in the CV which are done by you itself, and you know about it, that's it. So let's just say, yeah, you don't know one of the technology like blockchain, and you mentioned it, and by bad, like if some of the technical recruiter asks you about the question, then you're pretty much messed it up. So just mention what you know. And one thing is, don't try to narrate the story of or whatever the projects you have done in a bit lengthy way. Just try to summarize it in probably not more than a 10 sentence maybe. Just give an overall functional perspective. Sorry, my bad. Functional perspective, and what are the key things you have learned in that area, like probably whenever we do projects, we come to know the real world issues, right? So or point out those issues, what you faced and how you resolved it. That would be highly enough.
Mhm.
Apart from that, nothing much. Just be one thing, like don't be nervous at all, because
Right. So,
in nervous we lose something that we had in our mind also, and we try to blabber something that isn't perfect at all.
Right, right. So, how much weightage would you give to this confidence versus the actual skills that you have?
See, it is exactly at the equal level. One cannot go up and one cannot go down. See, if you have a skill of around even 60% and only a confidence of 40%, then it is still not good, because you're still lagging somewhere around
Mm.
10%. It should be in an equal scale, is what I believe. So if you're skilled enough in whatever aspect of that technology is, and your confidence and you have a confidence that whatever you have said to the question asked by the interviewer is up to the point, uh, then it's pretty much fine. But if you are low on confidence, then they would get to know, because they are doing the job for more than probably 8 or 10 years, and they know about the
Mm.
candidate's mindset and other things. So it should be in an equal scale, whatever it is, 50-50.
Right. So, like even in the beginning, if we are little nervous, it's not like it's the end. They will try to encourage you and
Yeah.
bring you back to your real confidence. Right.
See, probably they will get to know, like, if you're nervous, right? The sureness would be there in your voice and other thing, and you would be sweating around. So they will
Mm.
get to know, and they would try to calm you down and cheer you up on it, and then continue the things on.
Do you have any pro tips you want to share with the juniors who are appearing?
As one of the pro tip would be to do whatever you do, or whatever you do is do with the interest part itself, because if you lose that interest, then whatever you do further ahead would not matter for your mindset and for your mind also. So one of the pro tip is, whatever it is, not for the interview or other thing, just do with the interest, and that would be highly enough for you.
Yeah.
And that would likely create a mindset around you that would grasp even every pinpoint of it very accurately.
Got it. So, in general, do you have anything you want to share, like any important lessons that you might have learned related to like how branch matters?
uh, See, in this century, probably the brands doesn't matter, is what I see. And because whatever the company sees is the skill set you have, and at the end of the day, whatever they require is the problem solving skill, how good you are at probleming an individual skill. The thing, whatever needs to be learned, they would learn. They will make sure that they would prepare you for that, because each and every company has a training course, right? Based on their
Mm.
functionality perspective, and as well as based on whatever the technology they use. So one thing is, be make sure your mindset is in the problem solving skill, and as well as try to solve most of try to solve one or two, probably at max three coding questions per day. uh, if you are a beginner and you wanted to do something, then probably the first platform would be uh, the hacker rank. So based on the curative language, whatever it is, Python, Java, C++, they have a wonderful like structured thing. So after that, probably I would suggest Code Signal rather than going to Lead Code and Code Forces, because Code Signal, as I'm seeing now, it would be the best thing you would do in the problem solving skill area, because they have different scenarios, checking different corner cases in probably like 10 to 14, 15 test cases. And you don't need to spend much as of now in the DSA part of it. Once you are good and well and good with competitive programming, and you think that, yeah, I'm at this level, or 50-60% level, or even at 40% level, then shift back to the higher part of the DSA and try to solve it in the lead code and as well as code forces, is what I think. And as coming back to that, branches, does branches matter? No, because in mechanical also we do some of the problem solving areas. We do have mechatronics where we interact with electronic system and as well as coding part of it. And
Mm.
we do also have the open electric kind of system. So for any company, it doesn't matter unless and until you're good with problem solving and as well as the requirement they have it in the hand.
Yeah, you are one of the examples. So there is no lack of opportunity with regards to which department we are coming from. It's only that we need to prepare ourselves to have the required skill they are asking for. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
yeah, so we see people usually like kind of say that we are from tier three, we are from a different department. So please give us an opportunity. Like, does that work?
See, that doesn't matter because tier 3, tier 2, tier 1, probably it does matter if you don't have any kind of a referral kind of thing, and if they are not hiring and you are just applying on their website, then they probably don't see it. But apart from that, if you have that skill, whatever they are looking for, right? So every company has a mindset that we would hire this type of candidate or this skill based rather than seeing the colleges or anything. But once you reach that level, I think it's highly enough. There are facts that some people, whenever we just go right. Take mine also example. I also used to, because I was not sure on the on campus one itself, so I used to go on the website and just upload the CVs and other things. So in that cases, it may reflect the college names. Like if you're from the best one or like IIT or NIT, then it may help you up to get approvals for the CV and other things. But apart from that, it would not help you that much, because even if you are in a tier 1 college and not proficient enough in the required skills whatever they are asking for, then it would be a waste of time for them also. So first make yourself proficient enough in where you want to go and where you see yourself in the future. Like at the age of 35 or 36, I want this to be the part of my life, so that at each and every morning I wake up and I would enjoy doing my work rather than feeling why am I doing this. So find that passion for you, and once you find that passion, automatically everything would come up to you and everything would line up to you, and you would be enthusiastic to know the new topics in that area and implement it, work on how to get into that area and other things. So apart from that, yeah, it may take for like one of the big companies like people say Fang and other things. But I do know some of my friends who joined in that area, Amazon and other things. Probably you may have heard in this YouTube channel itself. So it's not very difficult to get in, but as he said, and as I would also say, that you should be proficient enough, and uh, you should know what you're doing. And apart from that, nothing does matter, like tier 3, tier 1 branches and other kind of thing.
Right. So instead of bringing that up and like seeking pity, right, which might reduce their chances, we should focus on
Yeah.
our strengths, and maybe they'll be surprised. Oh, okay, he's so good, and he turns out to be from a lesser known college or a different department. So we should be
Yeah.
focusing on our strengths more.
Yeah. See, once you showcase the strength, and then you say that right lap, and then they get to know, they would also feel bit amazed, and they would also feel amazed to know you as a candidate and other thing. But if you try
Yeah.
to bit say it at earlier and other thing, for some of them it may be a negative points, and for some of them
Yeah.
technically recruiters, they may think, yeah, he's from different branch and probably you don't know this thing.
Yes.
So it's better not to go ahead with him at the initial stages. If they think like that, then that would be pretty much mess it up for you also. So it's better
Right.
to keep it at the end, is what I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all we had for this session. Thank you, Kirti, for being with us.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
And thanks for the wonderful opportunity also.